Everybody! I was gonna attempt to film this vlog clip outside, but as you can hear, it's a little noisy outside, but I just wanted to come outside and kind of just like soak up some sunshine before I have to sit at my desk all day and do some work and do some reading. So let's take you guys all inside to update you on the book. Okay, it's a little quieter in here so we can discuss the books. Welcome to another vlog. I have no idea what I am reading in this week's vlog. I know I'm reading Sabriel, and I know I'm reading another book that has necromancy themes to it, but I could not tell you what book that is, but you know based on the thumbnail of this. And because of that, I can't really tell you what either book is about, so let's get into me just like updating you. So the first one we're starting with is Sabriel by Garth Nix. This is an old YA, and if you watch this channel a lot, I don't typically read YA anymore, but this was one I was still willing to give a try because I thought it might be a little bit different than the typical YA I'm used to reading as it came out a while ago. And then my lovely patrons picked it for the Cup of Chaos, and I picked it out of that cup about 2 months ago, so now I need to read it. I have started it. I'm listening to the audiobook actually, and I'm on chapter 4, and so far I'm intrigued. I don't hate it. The characters don't read too young for me. They actually, I feel like I could understand why this would be a good book for about 15-year-olds, where you're kind of starting to learn a little bit more about the world. And as this character is kind of learning at one point, they literally say that they just learned that their dad is more than just a dad. It's not just her father, but he has other impacts on the world. And I think at around that age, you start to really see the world open up and see how it's not just all about you. And I do think that that is such a beautiful conversation to have in a YA book. But what's really intriguing me is the magic. So we have our main character, Sabriel, who is a necromancer, but her dad is also a necromancer, and he kind of watches the gate of death and like helps people cross over all these different gates in the realm of death. And something happens to her dad, and she has to go save him because she thinks he's trapped behind one of the gates in this realm. And if he dies, things are gonna go boom and bad things are going to happen. Now, what I really liked in these first couple chapters is this setup of this crossing, where there's this area where you enter into the Old Kingdom, which is where the magic really lies heavy. And when you cross, what happened is at this crossing, there is the vergent, like these things are connecting into a point where people are crossing over into magical realm, and the things inside of this that are bad want out. And so there ends up being a lot of death in this certain point. And there's an influx of death and the magic of death, which ends up being that things can't die properly, and a soldier gets shot down in this battle only to be resurrected 5 seconds later, or the bad thing that they're trying to kill is defeated and is resurrected 5 seconds later. But Sabriel's dad has put like special wards up to stop that from happening, and if he goes boom, those wards go boom. It's just really interesting. I really like the idea of the magic and the potency of death. I think that that could be very interesting to continue reading about. I'm excited to see if there's any more themes that I'm intrigued in. Obviously, if you watch this, I'm a very big lover of reading about themes and like deeper connections and some darker themes in books, which is often why I stay away from YA, but I do think that although this will be hopeful, as a YA book typically is, I will get some of those meaningful themes that I'm looking for. So I'm very excited, and I'm gonna go continue it and work at my desk. But thanks for taking along for this. Hi, I wanted to update you on the vlog before my photo shoot tonight. I'm at this beautiful, beautiful place. I'm bored. I think I'm about 40% in. I actually lost my place in the audiobook, so I'm gonna have to struggle to find that. Accidentally restarted it. Oops, rookie moves. But I'm bored. I'm bored, and I don't really completely know why. Honestly, I know why. Because I'm 40% into this book, and the only interactions we've had are with dead people or dead things. It is very isolated. I wish we had more character interactions. So far, the only character interactions is with the cat demon thing, and I like animal companions, but they have to be done right for me, and I don't like mentors. Don't ask me why. Classic fantasy trope, but I'm not a big mentor person because I feel like they know too much and then they just never tell the person. I was like, this could have easily been solved if you just told them. Yeah, so the animal companion is kind of a mentor because he's like this really wise old demon that's kind of evil, kind of good, and it's just not really working for me. I could definitely see why this book would work for other people's. I'm kind of feeling very similar to how I felt when I read Aragon, and I just feel like I'm really not the target audience for this, and if you have the nostalgia for this, you probably actually love it, but it's just not one for me. But maybe that'll change. The world of the magic system is really interesting, so I'm hoping it'll change, and I'm talking fast because I want to get all this in before our photo shoot starts. And yeah, just like look how pretty.
I've been wondering about you. They said that just one look and I'd get caught too.
It's so chunky. I've got cream cheese on my nose.
Is it good?
I don't know. It was. It got very pumpkin-y.
Too pumpkin-y?
I maybe think a little too pumpkin-y for me, but like, I get why other people would love it. Guys, I finished Sabriel, and probably no surprise to anyone, I didn't really enjoy it. For me, this book was very similar feeling to Aragon in terms of if I had read this when I was the target demographic, I think I could have liked it. If I had read this before reading so many new intricate worlds, I think I could have liked it. It was wrong time in my life, in my reading journey, everything, because there are some very interesting aspects of this, but some things that I really look for in my books and my favorites that it was missing. So in the end, Sabriel is getting a 2.5 from me. Now, I don't usually give out half stars, but 2.5 for me is 50%. When I tell you that a book is 2.5, that means it passed. I guess. It was just very average, very meh. 2.5 is the middle of my scale. Anything higher than 2.5 I liked, anything lower I didn't really like. So 2.5 is just right in the middle. For Sabriel, what I think I was very lacking from this was a connection. There was no emotional depth to our characters in this story. Sabriel felt very flat for me. The demon companion was very one-dimensional. And then the like stone guy, there was no character there. There was no characterization. For me, the characters truly felt very flat. Now, the style of the writing is reminiscent to some of those quest books, and the more I read, the more I go into my fantasy journey, the more I know that I am looking for feelings, uniqueness. I don't like quest stories, is what I've learned. I don't like that classic fantasy tale that's really dry, very quest-driven, very we are going to point A and we're going to have little points as we go that are more like distractions to get us to the final place. They're not actually hard to defeat. We're never worried that this is going to affect our characters so much that we might not get to the end. They're just little distractions to make the story a little bit more enjoyable. Just not my type of story, and that's what Sabriel is. So I see why people love it, and I see why there's such nostalgia for it, because I do think the world, the magic system, was very unique. I loved the magic of death. I loved the different gates, the ringing of the bells. I did think that was very unique, which I think is why this book still got a 2.5 from me. Because I enjoyed that tidbit, but that just wasn't enough to keep me interested. I will not continue in the series. I could have DNF'd this book right away. If this hadn't been for a vlog and a Cup of Chaos pick, this book was being DNF'd. Like, it was very mediocre at best. For my personal reading taste, I should say. If you love this book, I get it. I think there's a lot of nostalgia in here, but again, as I said with Aragon, I just wanted more. I wanted a little bit more complicated. I wanted a little more depth. But really for Sabriel, it was just the emotions. There was no emotional impact in this book for me. Something happens where there should be emotional impact, and I was just like, okay, let's move on. Let's hurry up and get to the end. But yeah, those are my thoughts, but I have started a second book. So let's go talk about that book. I went over to a couple Discords that have a lot of indie writers, indie authors, indie reviewers in them because I wanted to read another book for this, but I didn't want to read Gideon. And I don't know a lot of Necromancer books, so I went and asked if there was any indie or self-pub books that had Necromancer themes that I just haven't heard of. And everybody, I mean everybody, came back and told me to read Blackstone Heart by Michael R Fletcher, or more all his entire series. I was a little nervous that the first book wouldn't have enough Necromancer to be included in a vlog like this, but we're doing it. We're attempting it. And I have read 5 chapters. I don't know anything about this book, so I'll try and update you when I'm like halfway through and have like a better clue of what this book is actually about. This book starts grim. We're killing a 12-year-old within the first 100 pages. It's grim, it's dark, and it's a necromancer because the guy is dead at the beginning of this book. Like, I swear he's dead. He dead. And no, he's not dead. And there's like animal behavior because he's been dead for so long, and it's really cool. I'm really intrigued with where this can go. It is an interesting narrative style because it is told in past tense, so our opening prologue is our character at the time of writing the story or telling the story and saying that he's going to tell his story. And then chapter 1 is his story starting, and so it is told in past tense, so obviously you know nothing too terrible is going to happen to our main character, at least in terms of another death? I was gonna say death, but I guess he's dead already. But I do think that we're gonna see a very tortured main character throughout this book by the grimness of it. I think he's gonna have to do some things he's gonna regret. I mean, he kills a 12-year-old in the first 100 pages. Not happily, okay? It must be done. But I don't think this book is gonna be for the faint of heart. I think we're gonna get grim, we're gonna get some discussions. And that's all I have to tell you so far, because I have no idea what the book's about still. So I'll update you in a bit. I told you we had a lot of food.
We have a lot of food.
Hello. Happy Friday. It's Friday. Oh no, it's Friday. I've not done this book yet. I am on chapter 15 of Blackstone Heart, and I finally can tell you what this book is about. So, in this book, we are following our protagonist who woke up after lots and lots of years. And he can't remember anything, but his heart was made of obsidian, and it's shattered and is across the world, the empire, and he has to find those shards. He knows this because he had one shard left in his heart, and each shard holds memories of who he used to be, which is kind of cool. It actually really reminds me of Inuyasha. I know that, like, Inuyasha isn't memories, but, like, I love the idea of, like, going on a mission to find all these shards to, like, put them together for, like, a goal. I'm really enjoying it. Shockingly, there are wizards in this book, and I say shockingly because if you follow this channel, you'll know that wizards aren't my favorite type of character, but I like that they're done how they're done in this one, and they're, like, kind of the bad guys. I don't know, it's hard because in a grimdark book, and this is grimdark, there's an odd thing that happens in grimdark books where almost all grimdark books that I've read are character-driven books, but a character that you do not love, that you aren't necessarily supposed to root for, and isn't necessarily the good guy. So our protagonist, from his point of view, the wizards are bad, and I'm reading from his point of view, so I'm like, oh yeah, the wizards are bad, yes, let's go. Kill the wizards! But, from the wizard's point of view, he's the bad guy. And I know I've talked about this in previous vlogs where I really like that discussion because obviously, like, our view is one-sided. In this book, it really does say that the wizards won the war and history is rewritten by the winners. And so all these people know that the demonologists and the demons were all bad and that they were like these evil creatures trying to destroy the world, and the wizard saved them all. But our main character, as he finds the shards, kind of knows more than that and knows that isn't the entire story. But history is written by the winners, and that is the truest sentence that could ever exist in the world. And I love that this book is talking about that. It's talking about good versus evil, what makes good, what makes it evil. It depends on what side you're on, whether you think you're good or you're evil. Obviously, there's things that are just morally wrong, but it's hard to say that one is bad and one is good. It's not black and white. The world is gray. And then I also am enjoying just like the way this narrative is told because it is a little bit mysterious. Our protagonist doesn't know all his memories and he's like learning as he goes, and it feels very easy, real to tell you things. Like, it's easy to learn the world with him because he's learning the world.
And I'm really enjoying that. One thing I'm not liking is, the problem with some grimdark for me is that there has to be a balance of what is necessary and what's not. I do think in this book there's a little bit of shock value added, and in grimdark there often is shock value. I don't always need it. I know our character has bad thoughts. I know he's not a good person. I know all of this because of the narrative I've been told. I don't need the rough animalistic sex scenes to make me cringe. I don't need you to talk about every woman poorly. And here's the thing, when I read Prince of Thorns, Jorg talks about every woman disgustingly, but it made sense for Jorg's character. It did not feel like shock value to me because he really despised everyone. This character doesn't. He actually likes people. And he's not all bad at this moment in time because he doesn't have all his memories. And I think that that's another thing we're going to talk about, is whether he is his past self as he finds the shards or whether he is the new person he becomes. Obviously, in my opinion, it'll be a blend of the two. Your past does influence your future, but what he's knowing now, the characters he goes on and all that, all the journey that he's on now will also affect who he is as a person. You're a person as a circle of all the things you do in life, interact with in life, the people you meet, the interactions you have, all encompass who you are, not defining moments of your life. Like, everything defines you. And I think that that will be discussed in this book. But yeah, there is definitely some shock value, especially with his companion, who I like too. I like his companion. She's not the best written female in the entire world, but I'm okay with that, especially in a grimdark book. Often they're not, sadly, but it's not affecting my overall enjoyment. I'm probably sitting at a high 3 currently. I'm really enjoying the world and the mystery and just the little elements that have been brought into this. I'm excited to keep reading. I'm excited to hear my final thoughts on this book, see where it went, and I will keep you guys updated. I'm so late in finishing this vlog. It's Sunday at like noon, and this was supposed to come up yesterday, so it's going up today at whatever time it can get uploaded. I'm sorry. And it's really short too, so I don't even know why I took so long. But I finished the book. This book was very hard for me to review. It's really hard for me to find a star rating for it because there's parts of it that I really enjoyed and parts that I really didn't enjoy. So I was really struggling with whether I think it deserved a low 3 or a high 2. I think I'm gonna go with a low 3. I don't know, maybe it's a 2. Maybe I'll talk my thoughts through and then just decide afterwards, and you can just decide where you think it lies for me as I talk. So I really, really liked the world building aspect of this. I loved the discussions we had. I think a strong point of an author is when there's a morally gray character, not even morally gray, a bad character, an evil character that they can make me root for. And truthfully, I was rooting for our protagonist for the first half of the book. I was rooting for him. I was like, yes, you kill these innocent people so that you don't get found out. And I was rooting for him as I went. I did stop rooting for him closer to the end. I can't decide if this was based on what the author wanted me to do, or it was just that this book was so dang repetitive that by the end of the book I was really sick. I was tired of it. I really liked the beginning of the book. I thought the beginning was really strong, and I think the very end was strong, but there's so much in the middle that is just like walking, journey, kill some people, and I was just like, what was the point in this? Like, I'm not a character driven enough reader for this book. Fluff. I didn't overly love that, but I did love some of the discussions the author puts in there on good versus evil, what makes someone evil, what doesn't make someone evil, what memories are, like whether who you are as a soul, as a person inside is more than the moments that you go through during life, what builds a person, what affects someone. I thought all of those thoughts were really cool, which is why I lean towards 3. But when I sit here and think about how bored I was at the end of this book, not bored, I guess I wasn't bored, I just wanted it to end quicker than it did. I feel like there's a lot that just wasn't needed to be said. I think I'm gonna give it a 2 star. I think it's a high 2. The writing is done really well. It's grimdark though, so if you don't like grimdark, don't read it. No, it's gonna get a high 3. It's gonna get a low 3 because like I do kind of want to continue. Do I want to continue? I don't know. Then yeah, I think I would love to just know what happened in the next story without having to read it, which I don't know what that says about how I felt about this book. Yeah, I don't really know what else to tell you. We have also in this
Oh, the other thing about this story is that it's the same with Sabriel. I don't know is it just because they're necromancer stories? Is this a theme that happens in necromancer stories where our main character is very isolated? There's no character interactions with a lot of other, there's not a lot of interactions with a lot of other characters. The beginning had more of those character interactions with other characters in the story, and as the story continued on, it was just our protagonist and the necromancer friend. So I think that really struggled. It was very hard to root for anyone besides our main character, and it's already hard to root for him. I think that having more interactions with people would have made the story better for me. I don't really like such an isolated story. I much prefer a big cast of characters to a small cast of characters. Is this a thing that happens in necromancer stories? There is, like, the necromancy in this was really cool, and I really enjoyed that, and it is like to a T necromancy, and I think that if someone was looking for that theme in a book, I would definitely recommend this book for that. But yeah, just not for me. Maybe I just don't like necromancer books. Is that it? Is that a thing? Because I think this is getting a 2.5. 2.5. I think I've settled on it. 2.5. Yeah. That's it. I have nothing else to say to you. And I have no idea what's coming next week. I think it's the vampire vlog, but I'm not entirely sure. So just look out. Turn on that bell notification if you want to know what's happening next week when it happens. And oh, if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a ghost emoji. And if you want to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my book Twitter, my Goodreads, and my Patreon, all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves a spooktacular day.